Hola, ¿qué tal? Aquí Julio Monroy desde Bogotá, Colombia, en Delta Records. Hoy tenemos un súper invitado, ha trabajado con una cantidad de bandas, eh, Rush, Maroon 5, Evanescence, es profesor de Berkeley. Mejor dicho, hay muchas cosas, tiene un súper estudio en Boston. Y bueno, pues este live va a estar totalmente en inglés, pero vamos a tener subtítulos en español. Así que aquí vamos. Hey, Sean, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very, very good. Thank you for accepting the invitation, my friend.
Oh, I'm more than happy to do it. This is going to be a blast.
That's great. Thank you. And we are with David Sicar. Hey, David, how are you?
Hi everyone, welcome to this new episode of Producing with Julio Monroy. Sean, it's a huge honor to have you here. It's super nice to see you again. We actually see each other at the Pan American Audio Educators Conference this year, so that was amazing. For the people watching, please remember that you can send us questions through the platform on which you are watching on the comment section, and I will communicate them to both Julio and Sean. I leave you with the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Well, Sean, I remember we met at the NAM show in Anaheim this year, and we were coordinating this live stream like 5 months ago, but
Mhm.
today is the day. And I want to tell you, we have only two mandatory questions in these live streams, and the other questions are from the people from the community. Okay.
Excellent.
So I will begin with the first one, and the second question is going to be in the last few minutes of the episode. So the first one is, can you tell us how did you begin in this music and audio world?
Yeah, well, I think like most people, we all started as music lovers when we started this, right? So, I grew up loving music and I had a lot of people in my neighborhood who were playing instruments and no one was playing bass, so I decided to pick up bass. So I had an easy gig. So I kind of started there, but I had a big love for the Beatles, so Paul McCartney was a big influence on me. Paul McCartney, Prince, John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin, like those were kind of my big three. Um, and I honestly didn't know that this was a career for the first part of, my musical journey. It wasn't until like my early 20s, like most of my friends had graduated college when I kind of discovered that this was a path that I wanted to take. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that it was a combination of art and science. It was a combination of logic and creativity, and I think like a lot of people I know who are in this, like the artist brain is very, very neurodivergent. So the left and right hemispheres are firing constantly. So having stimulation for both, problem solving and signal flow, along with the creativity of helping someone craft a song and really get the most emotional impact out of the song. Like that combination was really appealing to me.
Oh, that's great. But you tell me the story so fast. But tell me, how did you begin to work with in studios with artists, audio engineering, producing?
Oh, sure. So I started off in bands, and with the bands, I was always, if not the only one of the two in every band I was in that was excited about like recording. And I started off on Tascam 4 tracks, like a lot of people did. And, I remember the first time being excited when I flipped it backwards and everything played backwards. And I was like, oh, we can do this. Like this is a whole new level of creativity that we can get into. So from there, I started to just really, look at the back of records and see like, what is a producer? What is an engineer? What do these people do? What is their actual job when it comes to making these records? And it started me, my curious mind started kicking in, and I started, researching a little bit more about how records were made, and went to school, went to a smaller, almost like a trade school for it, and started interning as soon as I got out of school. But within the first year of graduating school, I got cancer.
Oh,
So a lot of my journey was kind of delayed a little bit with, dealing with that, and also dealing with the financial ramifications of that as well. So I didn't actually move out to Los Angeles until my late 20s. Actually, I was 30. Um, so I was a little late to the game according to a lot of situations out there. And then when I moved out there, um, 9/11 happened with the World Trade Center in the U.S. So everything in terms of entertainment got shut down for 4 to 5 months out in LA, and everything didn't start up again until about February 2002. And that's when I kind of got started with my journey out there. I had been in Massachusetts, where I went to school, and where I grew up for most of my life. Um, and I was interning at studios here and working with some very cool and interesting people, but I always wanted to see what it was like to work in a setting where like all of the records that I loved were being made. And at that time, there were really two choices in the United States. It was New York or Los Angeles. And, my mother's side of the family was living in Los Angeles, or actually Orange County at the time. So uh, I decided to make a trip out there and have a little bit of family grounding, not too, about an hour away. So um, I moved out there really just looking to understand the process of how to make great records, and got I started working at a studio in North Hollywood, and that's where a lot of this stuff kind of happened. Where I met a lot of people that I worked with over the years. I heard you mention Maroon 5, and I do have to say my story for that is, um, I was 2 weeks on the job at this studio, didn't really know the rooms, hadn't really, had proper training in the rooms yet. And they put me in the room as an assistant to Mark Endert, and he was mixing This Love, the single from the second single, I think, from that record,
yeah.
their debut record. Um, and I was the worst assistant anyone could have ever had. I did not I did not know the room, the consoles. It was a 9000J, and I was new to the 9000J. I'd worked on, G series and in different spots, but never a J series, and I was of no help at all. Well, I should say little help.
And not
Um,
ChatGPT.
there was no Chat GPT in 2002, sadly.
I
I,
know.
I would have, I would have loved Google.
Yeah.
But I had my manuals, and I rifled through my manuals, and I tried to help as best I could, but I was not prepared. And luckily the owner of the studio knew that I was new to that board and I was not prepared, so he didn't take it too hard on me. But we got the thing done, or I should say Mark got the thing done with me kind of sitting in the back and patching things every once in a while. But that was, just watching him work was, one of my first tastes into like this is how serious
Yeah.
producers, engineers, mixers do their work.
That's amazing. I love that song. I remember when I watched the video.
Hmm.
Like I was like, wow! I was studying music. I remember, and I was wondering because we have like reading about your work, and you have worked with Maroon 5, Evanescence, right?
Evanescence was another one where I was an assistant in the room,
Okay,
but like
But you were with them, right? In the recording the song.
I'm not recording. I was assisting on the mix.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing, man.
Yeah, so basically seeing folks like that, one of my mentors was Jimbo Barton, who I'd done some of the Queensryche and Matchbox 20 and Rush
Hmm.
and all that with. He kind of took me on as an engineer while I was still working at this studio and gave me, more responsibility than I was expecting at, at that stage of my career. But he was an incredible mentor for me. So I did a lot of that stuff with him, along with like I was an assistant with him on like the Marilyn Manson, Buck Cherry, Stone Sour stuff. I was, kind of in the
Wow.
rooms with him while, he was doing things and would occasionally, do whatever he asked. But when the Rush project came along, he was like, I need another Pro Tools op, so you're in on this one.
That's
Um,
cool.
and it was great. It was a long period of time, and there were long hours. There were times where I slept in an ISO booth. Uh, there were times where like my ears were fried, and I it would take 2 hours and just read a book because we
Yeah.
were just going nonstop.
Hmm.
I don't think I have that energy today. I don't know
Yeah,
25
sure.
years later if I could pull that off,
Uh-huh.
but it was I mean they were gauntlets, but they were just a joy to be a part of, and just being around people and being able to pick people's brains and you know talk to people about like what they've done in the past and like how they approach certain things now. And um
Yeah,
I think we're all constantly learning, or at least I
okay.
hope we are. Um, I feel like I'm constantly learning. I'm still learning. I have students, and I'm learning from my students.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
understand.
I have fellow teachers. I've got folks like you that I talk to that I'm learning from everybody. And I think that as we do that, our palette just expands, and we we can only get better if we do that.
That's right. That's right. We are all the time learning and learning, and even from the people who are not musicians and or audio engineers or everything, we are learning from other people. Hey,
Absolutely.
and we were checking too that you won 4 times the producer of the year.
Yeah, New
Yeah.
England Music Award Producer of
T-
the
t-
Year.
tell us more about that, please.
Um, Well, there is there's not like a huge industry here you know, in terms of things outside of the music making. There's a lot of great musicians, and there's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of great songwriters here. And I think having, Berkeley and the Boston Conservatory and the New England Conservatory all here, and University of Massachusetts at Lowell has a great music program. So there's all these incredible musicians that come through, even if they're not local and not staying for a long period of time. It's almost like having an incubator like right in our backyard here. So I feel really lucky that I get to work with a lot of these really talented people. And because of that, I get recognized for things. I always think that, in terms of producer, I always love the idea of looking at vinyl, and when you see it, like the artist name is really big on the front and the producer's name is really small on the back. And I think it's
Hmm.
important for us to remember that, and, not put too much of our stamp on things. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so having had a lot of like really talented artists get recognized has a lot of people saying, "Oh, who helped them get to that stage?" And I think that's where kind of the recognition came from.
That's great. Hey, Sean, we have some people who wants to say hi to you.
I would,
Really, David?
We
I'll say
do.
hi to anybody.
Yeah, we do. We have John Cribbit. I love Sean. So
Woo!
thank you, John, for being here with us and watching the stream. He also saying, "I love Monroy. I love Sicard."
Oh.
Thank you, John. It's amazing to have you here. We have
Love
Diego
God.
Castro as well saying hi, everyone. So hi, Diego. And well, taking advantage of the situation now that John Cribbit has said hi on the stream. What do you think about the Pan American Audio Educators Conference? How was
Oh,
it?
that was my first time there. That was incredible. John's doing amazing things with getting educators and software designers and gear designers and getting all of these people together in rooms to really discuss like how we can help make things better and how we can help make things better for students and using these things as teaching tools. And John really does have a gift for uniting a bunch of different people. It's really remarkable. And I thought the Pan American Educators Conference was fantastic.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was
Amazing.
amazing.
So
Did you
for
two go last year as well?
Yeah, yeah, and it was very very good, and I love it. I think that John is doing a great work and joining the people. Now I know I have more friends because of John.
I did, I think we all do.
Yeah,
And meeting you folks and a bunch of other folks between there and he makes these trips all around the world. I went with him and a bunch of other educators to Dublin in March. um,
yeah, you were
as you
there.
can guess by my complexion, I fit right in. uh, but he does an incredible job with this stuff. And
Yeah,
I
so
think everybody goes to these things because of what John Crivet has done for them.
yeah,
He's
yeah,
he's he's
it's
just a
amazing.
wonderful human.
It's amazing, and I was thinking about that the trip that you made with John to Dublin. How was the trip?
The trip was incredible.
Yeah, I
Um,
couldn't go.
Windmill Lane was a studio that like I've admired since I was a kid. I was a big U2 fan. Um, so just knowing that the history with that place, and getting to meet Tony, the owner, and the whole staff there, and spending as much time there as we did was a dream come true, especially for 14-year-old me.
You're 14 all year. That's amazing. Yeah, I remember last year we went with John to Abbey Road, and I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe that. So I want to thank you, John. We love John. We love Cribbit
We love John
all
Crivet.
the time. Yeah, yeah. Hey, I was checking your web page, of your studio. So we are in the park of when you were in LA working as an assistant,
Mhm.
and tell us more. How did you build the studio,
Well,
please?
I mean, LA was just not a city for me, so I wanted to, I don't want to say get out as soon as I could, but um, it was just not a lifestyle that kind of suited me. So I actually I moved back around the time that I got a teaching job at the New England Institute of Art, which is where I met John Crivet. Um, and I was back here, and I had already had a couple of clients between LA and Boston. The ones in Boston, I was coming home, so I was able to work with. The ones that I had in LA were sending me stuff to work on. Um, and the the thing I was doing around here was what most engineers used to do, which was bounce around to different studios to do some things. And nowadays, I kind of got a head start on like recording at home, and having a full Pro Tools rig and 2 racks worth of gear like in a spare bedroom in my house, and putting guitar amps in another bedroom. And you know the one thing I really couldn't do is record drums. I didn't have a space. And one day, a former, I shouldn't say former friend, but a friend of mine uh, had a studio, and he was moving. He was getting a different job, and he asked me if I wanted to take it over. And I said, absolutely not. I think owning a studio is a terrible idea. Uh, but eventually kind of talked me into it. He had 2 other people that were working at his space that wanted to partner up. And I thought, the rent seemed to be reasonable. The place was, it was pretty easy to kind of get started. I was still kind of building up a client base in the area. So, the big scary thing for me was the idea of like having massive overhead and not having enough work. And within a year, my two studio partners both left. So I was running the place by myself, and I just had to figure it out. And I think that's how a lot of this works when you're kind of working. You're figuring it out on the fly. No one no one really has a roadmap for being an entrepreneur or being an independent music person or anything like that. You can see other people's paths, but the climates are always changing, right? So um, I started off by just making sure that I could maintain where I was at. And luckily, like I said, the overhead was low enough that I had some clients coming through. And the first two clients that I had, one got signed to, an independent label that had some money behind it, which was really helpful. And the other one got recognized nationally by a publication here called Paste. They got recognized as like artist of, the month or the quarter or whatever it was. I can't even remember. But the first two clients I had got a little bit of notoriety, which led to me, getting more people asking questions about like, who is that and where is he from? So I started getting more and more work around town, and eventually, kind of built the place out.
That's cool, huh? And
Yeah,
it seems it's beautiful. Beautiful.
it's
You have a lot of equipment.
it's the place is in 100-year-old or now 130-year-old former shoe factory.
Wow.
So it's this big old mill building, which there are a lot of in the Boston and New England area. And I initially just had two rooms. On the website, it's the live room and the red room, and the live room looked very different back then. Um, and it's kind of revamped over the years. And just as the years kind of went along, I just started, acquiring more of the rooms on my floor. I'm on the fifth floor of the building, which is the top floor. I started acquiring more rooms just so I wouldn't have neighbors. I wanted to have peace and quiet. So as I kind of acquired more rooms, I would have other musicians come in. I had a couple of friends who were, part of, larger acts, not just nationally but internationally, that were living, in the Boston area, and rented out a couple of spaces. And my friend Steve Smith, if you're here, hi. He in 2017 gave me 3 months notice because he said, I'm going on tour with Squeeze for 18 months. So I'm going to give you 3 months notice, and you can figure out what to do with the place, which was very generous of him. So I brought in an acoustician named Lou Clark. Lou has a company called Sonic Space, and I had him look around the rooms and say, what should I do with this? And that's where this control room came about. He said, this is going to be a perfect control room for you because it's nice and long. And the way he designed it, you're hearing me in here now. It's like pretty manageable in terms of
Yeah,
reflection, and every engineer who comes through says it's one of their favorite rooms to listen in.
it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. And I was thinking about that, like having a studio right now in 2026 here in Bogota, in Colombia, is difficult. And I was wondering, do you have any advice for the people who wants to create a studio or, in this era?
Yeah, I think starting small is good. Um, Diving in, like all of this equipment behind me is acquired over 30 years. It didn't all happen at once. So, starting off with what you need. Let's say that. So when I was starting out, I was just acquiring gear here and there that, for me was affordable, or I had a project that was coming up where I needed to have like an extra pair of preamps or an extra compressor. And I would just buy it knowing that when the project was done, it would be paid off. So just starting with thinking about really logically, what do you need? If you're starting a studio and you're working in pop music and you're not recording a lot of live drums, you don't need a lot of different preamps and compressors and things like that, you probably need one or two channels. And you can record most things literally out of a bedroom nowadays. A lot of artists, even a lot of bigger artists, are doing things that are right in their bedroom. So, I started off with a pair of preamps and a pair of compressors. I had a pair of Neve 1272s and a pair of distressors, which is still pretty pricey. But just knowing that I could go to a place if I needed to record, more drums or a string section, there were studios that I could go to, and having what I needed to, record guitars, record bass, record vocals, record keyboards, different things like that. I think that's the best place to start, is don't overextend yourself and don't overextend your finances, because that's how people really get into trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that advice is very, it's amazing because sometimes, including myself, we buy things that we don't need. So, and
I'm
so,
also guilty.
yeah,
We all are.
David.
Yeah, it's true. You see the shiny new toy and you want to get the shiny new toy. But
Yeah.
I think if you're recording and you're not doing multiple instruments at once, or doing large ensembles, you don't need that much. You just need one or two really good parts of your signal chain. So, if you're working with singers, unfortunately there is no one mic that works for everybody, but there are a few mics that work really well on a lot of people. So you can start there. You won't get the universal, this works on everybody perfectly, but you can at least get something that makes someone sound really good and makes them feel really good when they're singing through it. I teach a vocal production class, and I always tell students that the best mic to record a singer with is the one that they speak or sing into, and they're like, "Oh, I love the way I sound on this."
Good
And it
advice.
doesn't matter if it's 300 or
Hmm.
$23,000. It doesn't matter. It just matters that they feel good on it. I've done this with singers before, where I set up the fanciest mic that I could find, and they go, "Oh, can I use like an RE20?" Now, an RE20 is significantly less expensive than that, but it's the thing that they feel most comfortable singing into, and it's the thing that they feel they can deliver their best thing. And I think this is something that a lot of people, like especially us, kind of get lost in, is there's a lot of the technology kind of, we lose a lot of the core of what we need to do here, which is capture someone's emotional delivery. It's all about the song, and it's all about how people feel when they sing it and how people feel when they listen to it.
Yeah, and that's the point. And if the people it's singing good with the microphone because they like, it's going to be a great musical take. So I think that's emotional part. It's very
Mhm.
important too. Yeah, yeah.
Well, there are all these old stories of the Beastie Boys, and people were like, "How did you get that really cool distortion on your voice?" And they would respond with, "We bought the mics at Radio Shack, and they just distort when we sing into them."
That's
So
great.
I
I
think
didn't know
that,
that.
yeah, like a $20, Radio Shack doesn't exist anymore. So
Mhm.
kids, Radio Shack doesn't exist anymore. But that it was probably like a $20 or $25 mic. So, and Rage Against the Machine, Zach De La Roca, I think he uses a 57 or a 58 for all of his vocals.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
there was like a story that I had heard, like LP from Run the Jewels was talking about him doing a guest spot on one of the Run the Jewels tracks. And he told him, "Yeah, just when you get a chance, get into the studio." And he's like, "What studio mic should I buy? Because I've done everything on this." I don't remember it was a 57 or 58, but he's like, "I've done everything on this." And some of Bono's vocals are in a Beta 57. It's the microphone doesn't matter. The gear really doesn't matter. Like the gear is more for us, and it makes our jobs
Yeah,
easier.
yeah.
Uh,
That's right. That's right.
but you know, there are things about it, like you know, it's almost like being a sommelier for wine. It's like you know, anything will work for most people. When you have the discerning taste, you want to get the thing that is delivering the way you want it to. I love, you know, I love Neve preamps. I also love Rupert Neve's newer preamps. I've got a bunch right here, you know, but I don't need those to, you know, make a good sounding record. I've recorded drum kit with all 57s before, and it sounds great. It all depends on the musician.
Well, if you don't need it, you can donate it to us. No, I need it. I need it. I
I
need it.
mean, let's be honest, I still want it.
Oh, okay, okay. Hey, David, you were going to tell us something, my friend David Sicard.
Yes, we've got a couple of comments and questions. So we've got Jacqueline Tejes, and she's saying the Pan American Audio Educators Conference was amazing. Thank you for sharing your experience. It was
Thank
an
you,
amazing
Jacqueline.
event. We also have here Andy Mantilla saying hi, Sean, Julito Sick, and hugs from Ecuador. Now that we're talking about gear, I have a comment here about gear, and is I can see quite a bit of outboard gear in your background. Is there one specific piece? Well, you have talked about that it's not about the gear, but is there one specific piece that you find yourself reaching for in almost every mix?
It really depends. It's weird because I don't really use a lot of this stuff for mixing. I commit a lot of stuff when I'm tracking. So, you know, I'll compress when I'm tracking. I'll EQ sometimes when I'm tracking, but a lot of it is, you know, I'm printing the compressor with everything. So I don't know if there's anything in particular that I use on a mix, but if I were to say, it would probably be the Zener from Chandler. That piece is awesome. It's a great compressor. It's really kind of three compressors in one because it has two different compressor settings and then a limiter setting that are supposed to mimic an Altec, the EMI compressor, and Fairchild. And it also has like a THD switch, so you can add harmonic distortion to things. I've done some stuff where when I've tracked, I've run a mic into one side and then chained it to the other side and put the THD setting on it, and it's really, really cool. Makes me wish that I had two of them. Don't have room in the rack for two. Don't have room in my wallet for two currently.
Mhm.
But that's a particularly fun one that I've had for a bit now.
Wow. And I was thinking about that. So you're recording with the gear, the compressors, and everything. That's amazing. But I was thinking about plugins. Do you
Mhm.
have any plugins that you like, or that you can say that it's the I don't know good than the hardware or something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, oh, I would say on hardware and software, all of the Moog stuff, that's Moog, Maag, um, Cliff Moog and his family like make this incredible gear, and they're great EQs they're super wide. Like the bandwidths are super wide, so they cross over each other, and you can really get some, you know, really cool tone shape out of it. Um, the Fab Filter Pro Q is a go-to for everything, especially when you have to be surgical. I love that. I'm trying to think of others. There's DDMF makes the Magic Death Eye compressor, which
Hmm.
the hardware is extremely expensive, and the plugin is like $100. So I'll
Okay.
take the plugin for now. Uh, I'm trying to think of others. Soundtoy stuff is always great.
Yeah, yeah.
Like every Soundtoys plugin is great, and I tell my students that all the time too. Valhalla DSP
Valhalla,
makes
yeah.
incredible stuff, and I think that's just Sean Costello and his wife. I'm not positive on that, but like I like the smaller companies where it's like one person doing everything. Having said that, I still have Universal Audio. They make they make great stuff, and their stuff is as close to emulating the hardware as any software out there. Um, I use their
Okay.
stuff on just about everything.
We saw that you created like a guide for Isotope, like
I
this.
did, yeah.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
Isotope is well. So I've I've been familiar with Isotope since they started. One of my former students at the Art Institute is Ted Terry, and I think he's like the number three at Isotope right now. And I remember when he graduated and got a job there. One of my favorite students ever, and one of my favorite humans ever, is Emily Farola, and she's still over there doing. She runs a thing. I'm trying to remember. They call it the Pit, I think, where they just encourage people to go in and experiment and try new code and try to come up with new ideas. And she is she has always been the type of person who has kind of pushed the limits of things like that. So Emily's been there for, I want to say, 15 years now. And it was sometime around the early 2010s that she reached out to me, and they were doing a new channel strip, and she wanted to come down and watch me navigate it, which I thought was an interesting way to approach the user interface, is having someone kind of just like watch me as I use the channel strip on a track. And she was like, you can ask questions, but really I'm just trying to see like if you intuitively go to certain places when you're using things. And it was really cool and fun to try and figure out like where things were, because I know that they've done that with a few people and kind of changed the way the user interface works with how they've observed people using it. So it started there. Then there was another time where they had come down to do another video. So I made friends and everything with the people at work there. And at one point, one of the folks who was working there reached out to me and said, would you be interested in putting together like a sort of manifesto? And a lot of it was me just kind of throwing out ideas of, how to approach mixing. And they had a couple of folks there that were really helpful in the editing process, where they were like, elaborate on this. And, it was like having a real-time editor as I was sending chapters in. So I did a lot of the basic like writing of the general approach to mixing, and they incorporated, oh, this is how you would use neutron, the neutron EQ in this situation. So that was I think 2014
Yeah,
that
it
I
was.
worked on that. And that's been, I've had students and professors come up to me and mention this, and it feels so long ago, but it also, I still get people reaching out and being like, that's been really helpful, because it is sort of like a beginner to intermediate guide on how to approach,
Yeah.
mixing from, really from a general standpoint, but using their tools to get there.
Do you think that this document it's still working for this 2026, or would you update something, Dolby Atmos or something like that?
Oh, I'm sure I would update some things
Yeah.
if they needed. Like I don't I feel like every year or so I try to like reassess how I approach things.
Hmm.
So just thinking about it from that standpoint, I would probably approach things differently in there, because I don't think the same way I did then. And I think we're all constantly evolving. At least I hope we're all constantly evolving. Um,
That's
and
right.
and everybody has kind of a different approach to these things. Like I think for me, whenever I'm mixing, like I start with whatever the most important thing is in the mix, and it's almost always a vocal in the stuff that I'm working on. But there are other genres where there is no vocal. There are other genres where the beat is going to be more important than the vocal. And there are other songs where there's something else is going to bring the energy
Yeah,
that
yeah,
needs
yeah.
to be there before you start working on that. So everything requires a slightly different approach.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think like the Atmos side of things, I've done a little bit of Atmos mixing, and I don't know how you feel, Julio, but like for me, it's both easier and harder.
Yeah, I love it. I began with the stereo mix
Hmm.
because I think it's harder because you only have two speakers, and when it sounds really good, I begin to spread it out or spread all
Hmm.
the instruments. But it's very cool. Sometimes it's like you have to be like true with the original mix,
Hmm.
but you have the way to put instruments on the behind on or the top on everything. Yeah, do you mix in Atmos too?
I do a little bit. I've been doing some Atmos stuff at my friend Jeff Lipton's studio. He's got a mastering studio called Peerless Mastering, and
Hmm.
he's got a Dolby certified room. So he's been offering to have clients have one song mixed in Atmos if they master a record with him. So I've been going in to do some of
Oh,
those.
that's
Uh,
cool. Okay.
it's been really fun. I still don't know. I still don't know if when I'm done, it's actually done, or it's any good. I haven't quite figured that part out yet because I
Yeah,
still don't know. Like, I still don't know where this is going to take us. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
I listen to Rocket Man and know that like that's kind of the pinnacle.
yeah.
Um, I still think Rocket Man is the best Atmos mix I've heard. Um, but it seems to me, I don't know if you feel this, but like it seems to me when people started, they were just moving stuff all over the place.
Hmm.
And I feel like now they're going for the stuff I'm hearing is going for just like a more ambient image around everything, with things being a little more static within the speakers that they're in instead of moving around.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm still like learning because this is not like it doesn't have like the standards or like in the stereo mix, but
Mhm.
yeah, for example, I like to put the thumbs in these speakers like on the top, and yeah, and the guitars on the sides. But I'm going to send you some mixes so you can check it down.
Oh, I'd
Check.
love to hear some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, yeah, I honestly I don't know where things are supposed to go, so I just try things and see where it goes. And sometimes it goes well and other times it doesn't, but like that's one of the great things about having
Yeah,
things in a DAW. You can always restart.
yeah, yeah. It's amazing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Eh,
it's definitely fun. I'm still trying to figure out if the consumer is going to really care.
but last week I yes I did like in May 7th the Eclipse the YouTube is streaming in Dolby Atmos with Eclipse. I don't know if
Oh
you heard.
wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. We were talking with Klaus Trelby like 2 or 3 weeks ago about that, and now it's in Eclipse, and the songs that Just Rogozin recorded from Global Sound Concerts right,
Wow.
are immersive in YouTube. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it seems like David, we have more questions for
Yeah,
Sean. We
we
are.
we do. Talking about Dolby Atmos, I don't know how much of that decision is actually gonna be taken by the customer, because the technology brands are actually making the Dolby Atmos technology, so
Hmm.
they're just putting it everywhere. But I think it's cool. I like listening to music in Dolby Atmos. I think it's pretty fun. We have here Juan Burgos saying hi everyone. We also have Andrea Navarrete. I'm watching the live right now, and I just want to send my love to Julio Monroy and the whole Delta team. And Sean, thank you for the amazing content. Keep it up. We have Vortex as well here. Always the best guests here. Hi, Sean, is saying Vortex. Thank you, Vortex, for
Love
being
him.
here with us. We have a question.
From
So,
AES Colombia,
from AES
president of
Colombia.
AES Colombia. Wow.
Yeah, we have a question here. You are a professor at Berkeley, so as a professor and studio owner, what is the skill that you notice students or interns struggle with the most when transitioning from academia to pro field?
That is a good question. Uh, because there are certain things that I think are common, and there are others that it does depend on the individual. But I would say when I get mixes to critique from students, I had another student refer to a student's mix, and they said they had DTM disease. And I said, "What is DTM disease?" And they said, "Doing too much." They end up,
That's
you know,
good. That's so good.
they're.
Yes,
I
it's going
had
to be
a.
a real.
It was. I mean, I had a student who brought in a track with 4 consecutive EQs, and one EQ was pretty crazy, and those were all on a kick drum. And the second EQ was trying to fix the problems that they created with the first EQ,
Yeah.
and then they were trying to create. I don't think they were trying, but they were creating more problems with the third EQ and then trying to counteract those with the fourth EQ. So I took all the EQs off, and the student said, "Wow, it sounds so much better. What did you do?"
Like
And
life, living.
well, I think we all kind of fall into this
Hmm.
thing,
Yeah.
especially, I notice like I fall into it, especially when like I don't have a lot of time to do a mix. I just fall into certain habits. And then I never finish a mix the day I start it. I always give it the night, or come in the next day, or even if I've got to put it aside for a couple days, come back in, and I always notice things that I did that I want to change. Like every single mix, every time I listen back to it on a separate day, there are things that I know I kind of either got into my head, or I just got into a flow with things and wasn't really focused on what was there. And I think like one of the best compliments one of my students gave me is that, I really stressed that we're mixing songs. We're working with sound, but we're mixing songs, and we should never lose sight of what the song is telling us. We should never lose sight of what the tracks are doing to tell us what's there. And I think that a lot of people who are, top of their class, who are excellent, they do a fantastic job, but they also get tracks that sound better than a lot of what my students are working with. Because my students, I feel like the students at Berkeley, their strengths are musical, so they understand production because they understand how things work.
Yeah.
They understand mixing because there's a musical element to it. I think that engineering is the thing where everybody, is still developing even as they graduate. They're still kind of learning a lot of techniques and how a lot of things work. So I think because of that, the tracks that they're recording, then they then have to mix. They haven't really been thinking that far ahead to where they need to go. And I always try to, in my production classes, probably more my production classes than my mixing classes, because that's where it all starts. I always tell them, begin with the end in mind. So think about what you want to do. You don't have to like have an exact roadmap that you follow perfectly to the letter as you're working on things, but you should at least have an idea of what you want this song to feel like. And if you know that, and you're thinking about, well, this instrumentation can get me there, then you work with that instrumentation. But sometimes you can't work with that instrumentation. Like if someone wants a string section and they don't have access to the players, well,
Yeah.
you've got to then think about something else that would do what a string section does. Like a synth pad can do what a string section does if you're getting the right emotion and you keep an open mind about it. So that's really where a lot of this stuff kind of comes about, is they're they're thinking about the task at hand a lot, and they're thinking about the thing that they're working on currently, but they're not thinking towards the future. Like when they're recording a drum kit, a lot of times they're just recording a drum kit and setting up as many mics as they could possibly set up, but they're not thinking about what they want that to sound like in the end.
I was thinking about that. That's a great advice to the students. Like, imagine the song, finish it. I think it's harder. It's difficult, but
Mhm.
because sometimes you imagine one thing, and then when you are recording, you imagine another. It's difficult.
But I
It
actually
really is.
I actually think that works for every stage because, for example, when I'm recording, I have like a hobby nu metal project that I produce and I sing. And one of the things that I do when I'm recording the vocals is thinking, how do I expect this song to sound like? If I was not the singer, how would the singer sound like for me to engage with the song and be comfortable? So to be honest with you, I think that advice works for every stage on music production or audiovisual production. If you weren't the
Totally agree.
one doing this stuff, what would you like to see or how would you imagine it looking? So that's amazing.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I mean, I think about like, guitar parts. You know, I love guitars, so I'm always thinking about guitar parts. So thinking about like there was a session player that I worked with who, had been working in the industry forever. And he always said, whenever I'm playing, I don't even want to be playing in the same range as where the melody is. So, if it's a verse and someone's singing in their lower register, they'd say like, I'm going to invert the chord, or I'm going to play it up an octave. I'm going to play it higher. And then when they go to sing higher, they're playing, big fat bar chords or open chords down lower. So they're just staying out of the way of like where the singer is.
Yeah, difficult times right now because I was checking a question about AI, right, David?
Mm-hmm.
we do have a question about AI from Andrea Navarrete. Let me add this to the broadcast. How do you see the music industry changing with artificial intelligence?
Oh, I wish I had a good answer for this. But I think if I had a good answer, I'd be a lot richer than I am. Uh, I It is changing. I do see. I mean, just the students at Berkeley are kind of fighting all of this coming in because there are AI songwriting classes coming in and AI classes coming into music production and engineering, and all of this stuff is happening so fast. I think just like anything, AI is a tool. Like it's For me, it's more of a tool in terms of administration and navigation through things. Like there are certain apps that are helpful with like importing template information, and really Isotope has a bunch of AI stuff. The Spectra layers is doing some amazing things with separating tracks using AI. So it does have a use in terms of songwriting. I'm not really sure, and I think the scary thing that I keep seeing is that the the drop in cognition from people who use it, like people's cognitive skills are going away because they're just using AI to kind of prompt things. And all of the things that I've seen so far, AI isn't really there to challenge people. It isn't really there to make people better at their craft. It's there to comply with the wishes of whoever's using it. So until we get to the stage where it gets past the compliance stage and it's actually prompting to think about different things, I'm not sure where it's going to go. Like one of our jobs, I tell my students, like one of our jobs as a producer is to be the person to say what if in the room. What if we tried this or that? What if
Hmm.
we cut this part? What if we move this over here? So that's kind of a lot of what our job is to be that outside perspective. And I think people are using AI for some of that now, and I don't know how helpful it is because I don't think it's necessarily the best of everything. I think it's a conglomeration of everything that is spitting out the wishes of whoever's prompting it.
Yeah, difficult times. Yeah, I saw in the news that students from Berkeley, I guess, they were like protesting about classes with AI or something like that.
Yeah, and I've talked to some students about that as well, and I've talked to some faculty about that. I know, Jonathan Weiner is kind of spearheading a lot of this stuff, and
Hmm.
Jonathan is an extremely intelligent person. And from my conversations with him, a lot of what he's talking about is really we're dealing with the inevitable. No matter what, we're dealing with the fact that AI is here. and we
Right.
can't ignore the fact that it's here. It's going to be here. So what
Yeah.
we have to do is we have to figure out a way to navigate it. We've got to figure out a way to either use it in a way that's useful for us or a way to make what we're doing undeniable so that we don't have to use it. I At least that's kind of my take on things. It's going to be here and it's going to make an appearance. And in terms of how it affects everything else, I'm not really sure because I saw a report last week. One of the educators that I met down at the Pan American conference was sent out a thing saying that listeners aren't responding to AI music the way they're responding to music written by humans.
Hmm.
So I think the bummer that I'm kind of seeing is I think it's going to do away with the live band demo thing. Like the Nashville live band demo is just going to be AI now. I think
Wow.
that's just, it's my feeling. I don't know if it's true. It just,
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like any place where there are song factories and, people in Nashville are some of the greatest songwriters in the world. It really is a song factory down there. And if they don't have to spend money on a studio and musicians to have a demo of what they're doing, it only makes sense for the songwriter. It's, it's really a bummer for the musicians, I think. And one of the things, like the thing that I like doing more than anything is recording a bunch of musicians in a room all together because I feel like the music just gets enriched by the fact that you've got killer players in a room and each one is reacting to something that the other person did, and the song just gets better and better. As I was telling you earlier, Julio, I like 10 minutes before this live stream started, I was recording a couple of students who just graduated,
Wow, cool.
and we were they were basically like writing in the room, and they were just like, yeah, we don't have a song yet. We just want to try some things and see if we can write together in the space. And they just said, hey, can just offer any advice that you can. We'll set up for everything. And we recorded a bunch of different things. Who knows how much of it's going to make the song or if the song even becomes a thing. But it was both beautiful and brilliant to see like these amazing young musicians and writers together, like putting these parts together and kind of assembling things. And I don't know if AI is going to do that. And I've talked to like one of them,
That's right. Yeah.
um, my student, the person who put this together, I will say, in case they're listening on their drive home, uh, Kiara, thank you for bringing everybody in, and Max Globacar, who he's been living in LA for a year and doing writing and producing for different artists, and he was talking about this in terms of he can play just about everything. And he said, when I'm home, I can play everything myself, but that doesn't really give me new ideas. And having these three people in a room with me is like prompting me to think about different things and approach
Yeah.
things in a different way. And I don't think we're going to get that if we just have something saying yes to everything that we
Yeah,
wish
yeah,
for.
yeah. That's right. Like having the musicians playing and reacting all together,
Mhm.
it's amazing. What do you think, David Sicard?
Well, I think AI is an amazing tool and it makes a lot of things easier. But the thing is that AI, I think it's a great tool, but it's not a great solution, especially because it's learning from a lot of different places. And if you actually get in touch a lot of time with AI, you're actually gonna realize that most of the outputs are gonna be and feel really similar. So there's an important part of this, and it's that AI actually process data. We as humans process experiences, and AI, it's not possible for AI to process experiences and to put an output with experience. It's just mixing a bunch of stuff. But we do the same thing when we songwrite, but we put our perspective on it. So that's on one
Mhm.
point. But it's an amazing tool because, for example, if you want to make research or want to learn a new skill, you can make like this huge prompt and put like a character to your AI and act like this, do this, be honest, whatever, and
Mhm.
act like a teacher, for example. So we now here at the studio are currently working on learning how to develop skills to create plugins. So
Awesome.
what's the thing that with Julio we have seen that AI is not gonna be able to put a really good plugin all by its own yet, maybe in the
Not
future.
yet, not
Yeah,
yet.
but what's the thing? If you actually put the AI to make a whole plugin, it's gonna make like these EQ presets. It's gonna make these compressor presets, and it's gonna be the presets that it's gonna give to everyone. And it's not your
Mhm.
take, and it's not the way that you do stuff. But it's really good for learning. For example, I don't know how to make a ping pong delay, and it's not working, and it's gonna explain it to you, and it's gonna see the terms, and yeah, you're failing on this and that. So it's a great tool, but it's not a good solution. That's what I think.
I think that's right, and I think until we know how to use it and until we know how to implement it into what we're doing, it's going to be a rocky road. It's going to take us a while to get there, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely. What do you think, Julio?
I think that AI is amazing. I love it, but you have to be careful. You have to
Mhm.
be careful. And by the way, the next week we are going to have a live stream with a professor from Berkeley too. His name is Carlos Arana. I took a course with him about AI. So yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was looking for this book of Jonathan Weiner because when you were talking about him,
Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, talking about Jonathan Weiner, we had him on the live stream like 1 year ago, and it was pretty good. So Berkeley,
Yeah,
all the
Jonathan's fantastic. He's quick-witted. He's I feel like every time I talk to him, I learn something. And sometimes it's just a new joke, but a lot of times I get insights on things that are different perspective than what I'm used to, which is one of the great things about teaching there is being surrounded by. I feel like our department at Berkeley is. I'm a little biased, but it's my favorite department. I feel like everybody that I interact with there is incredible, has their own perspective on things, and I think that's one of the great things for me about teaching there is that we have all these classes, and depending on which teacher the students take, it's a different learning experience, at least slightly based on how we approach the material. And as long as we're getting them to their objectives, we can take whatever path we need to that kind of suits our teaching style best. And getting to talk with everyone and meet with people in through whatever course I'm teaching, course coordinators, and talking to teachers who've been there forever and teachers who are just starting there, I feel like I just become a better teacher every semester because of it.
That's right. Yeah, I have never been there, but I'm going to be in the event of AI in June. Will you be
Oh,
there?
I will be there.
Woo! That's great, my friend.
I will
That's
see you
another
there.
opportunity to say hi.
Yeah, and see some things around Berkeley and around Boston. It's
Oh, yeah.
June is a good time to visit. It won't be cold.
Oh,
It'll be good.
that's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Maybe I don't know, going to your studio or something like that.
Oh, say the word. I don't know how long you're going to be here, but we can coordinate that.
1 week. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, if you're going to be there a week, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
let's make a plan.
Okay.
The studio's outside the city, so it takes a bit to get here, but
Okay.
I'm happy to drive you down.
Oh, thank you, my friend. So, did you record that, David Sicar? Yeah, I hope so.
The whole thing is recorded, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, my friend, we have run out of time, but David Sicar has some advertisement. My friend David.
Yes, I do. So, first of all, we've got the AES Latin American Convention coming up the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th of August this year in Lima, Peru. It's gonna be an amazing event, so be sure to go there. And as well, first of all, huge shout out to Genelec, amazing speakers, and we actually, thanks to them, are going to be launching an amazing video tomorrow. So stay tuned because it's about mixing Michael Jackson in Dolby Atmos. We were into this amazing studio in Mexico City called Clan D. And Julio actually makes this great interview to Carlos Rodgarman talking about how he mixed Michael Jackson in Dolby Atmos. So be sure to check that tomorrow. It's coming out tomorrow. So stay tuned. And also remember that this amazing episode is actually also gonna become a podcast. It's really simple. You just go to the platform on which you prefer to listen to podcasts, and you'll be able to find this episode and all last episodes. Search for Produciendo con Julio Monroy, and you will find all the episodes there.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Yeah. Well, Sean, it has been an amazing hour with you, and but I have the last question for you, like the mandatory questions. Yeah, remember that. So I know we have talked a lot of advice for studio owners and for music production. But what would be your advice to the new people who wants to begin in this audio industry, like young people in this 2026 with AI and Dolby Atmos and everything changing so fast? What would be your advice?
I probably have two pieces of advice.
Okay.
Number one, just if you're graduating, never stop learning. Just keep studying things. Keep following that fire that you have about learning more about this industry. Number two, I think there are, especially I see it at Berkeley all the time. There's a lot of pressure for students to move to the biggest city that they can, the biggest market that they can be in. But I would say, I think you can make music anywhere. You can work with musicians anywhere. And if you're not comfortable going to New York, if you're not comfortable going to LA, you don't have to. You have to follow what's right for you. You have to understand yourself as a person. And I think if you are the type of person who doesn't like being in a big city, you can make music anywhere. There's I'm making music here and I'm in a suburb of a city. Uh, I feel like anyone can do that, like wherever you want to be. If you have a passion for this, it's great to follow it. Make sure you follow your passion and your talent and do what is right for you on a personal level.
Yeah, yeah. I love the advices are amazing because now we can live in an island and create music and send it to everywhere with, I don't know, audio movers or all the technology that we
Mhm.
have. So yeah, I love it.
Well, and I would say, like, as a third thing, like, I think any you know, artistic endeavor is a relationship business. So go to conferences, make friends,
Mm-hmm.
meet new people, get your name out there. Go see people. And the best way to do that is to be face to face with people and have conversations.
That's right. And that's how I met you. So it's
Exactly.
amazing. It's amazing, my friend. Yeah, that's great advice. Sean, so thank you for this live stream with you. Say thank for to the people who has connected, and of course, thank you, David Sikar, for all the hard work in the controls.
It was my pleasure, Jean. It was a huge honor to have you here. Thank you a lot for taking this hour to talk with us. And well, amazing episode. I love the episode, and I think you gave really, really great advice. And this was a pretty amazing conversation. So thank you for that. Thank you, Julio, for creating these amazing spaces. And just a quick reminder, please, Julio, what's the next live stream gonna be about?
It's going to be about AI with Carlos Arana. Wow, now Sean is that was AI.
I'm still here.
Yeah, yeah, about AI. Whoa, again. So, maybe it's there's a phone. There's someone calling you, right?
Oh,
Maybe.
someone's trying to buzz in.
Okay, my
Uh,
friend.
I,
Yeah.
I will say it's a pleasure. I thank you guys for this. It's been fun talking to you, and I look forward to the next time in
Uh,
June.
yeah, my friend. Thank you. Maybe we can, I don't know, maybe record a studio tour of your studio. I don't know. Whatever you can say, it will be great.
That'll be
Say the
fantastic.
word, we'll make it happen.
Okay, my friend. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Guys,
Thank you,
thank you
Sean.
very much.
Take
Bye
care,
bye.
everyone. Bye.